And it occurs to me that we've done these meetings since, I want to say, the middle of May. The first one was May 7th. Great information has been conveyed in these practically weekly meetings since then. And if there had been a chronicle of them, it really would be sort of part of history, but maybe from here forward. And again, I do hope that we all work together. Even after you guys leave, you've made such a heavy lift and you've gotten us used to this idea that the recovery is going to be swift. Things are going to move, at the speed of US ACE. So hopefully we'll all band together and keep this momentum going.
Yeah, unfortunately, we benefit from a lot of practice, whereas
Yeah.
luckily the community doesn't necessarily, and so there'll be a learning curve and a coordination curve, perhaps.
Yeah. That's true. We've never done this before. Hopefully, we'll do it well enough to never have to do it again. If we can
That's right.
build back in a resilient way, the next wildfire may not devastate us the same way.
Yeah, God willing.
And I'm sure we'll be calling you once in a while
I'd like that.
or inviting you back in 5 years.
I would really very much plan to do that.
Yeah, that'll be wonderful. Okay, it's 7:34. We usually give them another hour. We give everyone, I mean, another minute, another minute, 7:35, and then we'll convene at that point. Robert Gold, who is our guest today? Is it AIS? Is Brian's iPhone?
It's Brian and it's David, who I spoke to yesterday, who's the COO from AIS. Um, and
Good morning, Robert. This is David Reynoso.
Yes.
Yep, good to see you again, David. And we'll
Thank you,
introduce
sir.
you can introduce you in a minute. Let's see who else is going to be jumping on.
Yeah, just one more minute. And then, so these are kind of our working calls. I don't expect them to be hugely attended. This one and the one last week, and I think the next few are going to be our working calls where we hear from the private contracting agencies that famously will potentially no longer be contracted. And then we can hear from some of the private contractors that the community relies on. And then we can come together and formulate a strategy, right,
So
for security going forward. And then we can figure out what our ask is of private agencies, take it out there and get proposals that are all the same, right? Like uniform proposals, apples to apples. And then we can start to take that out to the community. So this will be the core group we work with. Um, Obviously, everyone is welcome to join the calls, but I don't think they're helpful if they're huge. So I think these smaller working groups are good for now.
the Roos is on now, and
Yep, and West LAPD CRO, not sure who that.
Hey, Miriam, it's Sergeant Scott Alpert. How are you?
I thought it might be Sergeant Alpert. It's nice to have you on the call. Thank you, Sergeant Alpert.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Brian is not with you, and neither is Captain Gabalden, right?
No, Brian just had surgery, but he's good and he'll hopefully be coming back next week, just light duty.
Okay. Is he okay?
Yeah, no, he's okay. He had to have he had to have some surgery, but he's good.
Okay. He said he wasn't going to be here. He didn't say why. Okay, thank you. Good to know. Captain Gabalden, I think, is out for maybe another 2 weeks, so we'll see him in 2 weeks. Um, Deputy Mayor Robert Clark said he would be here whenever we need him, so maybe in a couple of meetings when we're talking about strategy, right? Robert Gold, we'll have him on.
yep.
And then Chief Woodyard available when we need him. And I know some of you have received a letter from him, but he has formally let us know that they will no longer be renewing those contracts with the private security agencies. I know at least a couple of people on this call have gotten that letter.
And I spoke to David at AIS yesterday, and he was not aware of the assignment coming to an end in the not too distant future, although we always knew it was a possibility when it would
Right.
happen. So
Yeah,
I informed him before he even knew.
Yeah, I was wondering how much they knew, but no worries. I mean, we'll do what we have to do, and hopefully they will keep that contract. And Sergeant Alpert, I know you're on the call. Hopefully LAPD will keep that contract as long as you can. But just suffice it to know that the community is working on whatever happens afterwards. All right, everyone. So it's 9:37. I think we can get started. Welcome. This is our weekly community advisory group call, ostensibly with LAPD, U.S. Army Corps, and we always invite CHP and Caltrans. So if they connect, I will let you all know. Colonel Palazzini, as has become our tradition, we will give you the floor first for the update from U.S. Army Corps. And thank you again for joining us.
My pleasure, and good morning, everyone. So as I've said for a couple weeks now, it's coming down to the wire. So specifically for our city of Los Angeles properties, so kind of Palisades plus, 97% of the properties, the opt-in properties are cleared. I always make the caveat, those opt-in properties, there are some private contractors still working out there, but really even just driving around, you can see incredible progress in the clearance. So 97% cleared and 96% FSO packets returned to property owners. And many of you know those FSO packets, that's what property owners need to be able to get their permit to begin rebuilding. So the fact that we've now closed that gap between what we've cleared and the paperwork that we've returned was really important to us to pick up, so that property owners could be, if they choose to, be ready to rebuild. And so we're in a good place there. Truly, in the Palisades, we're down to just a handful of properties remaining. So over the next, I would say, 2 weeks or so, you'll see that handful turn into probably just 1 or 2 properties. We do have 2 multi-units that we need to finish. One has started, one we're hoping to start soon. And sorry, by multi-units, condos. So 2 condos. One will finish up probably in the next week or so, and the other we're hoping to finish soon. And that just will leave a couple of properties left in the Palisades that unfortunately somebody had to be on the tail end of the debris removal. Many of these were delayed for certain reasons, either paperwork or ownership or whatever. So we've got them now, and I really don't expect, FEMA has made all of its determinations. The county has submitted all of its exceptions. And so I don't expect any additions to that handful that we have remaining. Overall, we're approaching 1.2 million tons of debris having been removed from the Palisades fire. So that is total between Malibu, LA, and the unincorporated areas. And if you count both fires, that's Eaton and the Palisades, we're at about 2.5 million tons of debris removed. Just incredible. The final number, we're getting real close to what's the final number. Again, I'm sorry, I don't have it broken out necessarily Palisades, but for the Palisades fire, that final number is going to be right around 4,000 parcels that we've cleared. And then across between Palisades and Eaton, just to give you that context, it'll be close to 10,000. And so really it's an amazing number of parcels that unfortunately we had to clear. We're thrilled that it was us to be part of the mission and to be a part of the solution. But just the speed and the safety, we're very proud of it. Couldn't have done it without those of you on the call and the community that we've interacted with. So probably haven't said thanks enough to all of you, but I'll add that on this call. And I'm happy to take any questions that you might have on our path forward or what you expect to see over the next couple weeks. But the short answer is expect to see less of us over the next several weeks. So I'll pause there for questions.
Thank you, Colonel. Well, I'm sure we have tried to say it as often as we can, and we will continue to say it on behalf of the community. Thank you. You have been incredible. We've said this before, when you started, it was quite a daunting task. We were told it would take a year to a year and a half to do all of the debris clearance. And you guys have definitely debunked that. The speed, the swiftness, the professionalism, the kindness with which you guys have done this has been, the talk of the town for the past 6 months. So we are grateful. And as I've said many, many times in the last couple of months, I'm fearful of the day you leave, because the momentum that the community has gotten used to as a result of the way that you've operated is going to be something that's difficult to replace. And so once people can't observe with their eyes that things are going forward and that this recovery is underway, I think there will be moments where people feel, sort of what now? And I think it's our job to make sure that there's an answer to that what now. But I thank you. It's been incredible to watch you guys do this. I'll open it up to questions. I just have one question for you. Last week I asked you about three pieces of property, multifamilies. I think I've understood based on just what you said in your follow-up that the building on Sunset, and Marquez, the one that's built on a parking lot. I think that you're clearing. And then I think there's kind of a public-ish park up in the Highlands that's still not cleared. I think that you're clear, not. Okay. And then the Palisades Bowl, you're definitely not clearing. That determination has been made. So we're waiting for private contractors on that.
Yeah, that's right. Both Palisades Bowl and the one up in the Highland, that park, I guess, up in the Highlands. I don't know the full rationale for both of them. Those are FEMA decisions, but they were both determined to be ineligible for the FEMA program. In general, the FEMA program is meant for private property debris removal. And so there were some exceptions made based on proximity to schools or perhaps owner occupied, but that wasn't private property, technically speaking. So they were able to make as many exceptions as possible, but there are some very firm, I'd call them left and right limits that FEMA operates in. Palisades Bowl just didn't meet that criteria, nor did the one in the Highlands. But yes, on Marquez, it's 16601. If that's the same address we're talking about, that is, we're very close. We're just waiting for that homeowners association to decide on a contractor to put shoring support in their parking garage so that we can get our equipment there to do the debris removal, and we'll be able to move out there. And Miriam, you just said 6 months, and I had this realization yesterday. I went to the city of Malibu to speak at their long-term recovery group, or it was really a workshop that they were holding there in Malibu, and it's about 6 months to the day when we cleared our first parcel here in the Palisades. So kind of incredible. I don't know what that means. I don't know what 6 months means, but it does seem sort of momentous that we're here.
It sure does. And PCH, continues to shock every time you drive down. This is an entirely new landscape we're all getting used to. Slightly more palatable now that you're finished with the work that you've done, because in the beginning, that drive down PCH and, the mangled homes along the shoreline were hard to fathom. Okay, so that's it for me. Last week you said that this week, not that I'm holding you to it, but just wondering, last week you said that this week you'd be handing Temescal Canyon back over to the city. Is that still on track?
I still believe that to be the case. And so I was hoping to have that news this morning. Thanks for bringing it up, though. I did mean to mention it. Yes, still believe that it will be. I'm choosing my words carefully here. I think it will be open this week. I know that we are prepared to turn it over to the city this week, but I think that is going to be one and the same. So I would imagine by the end of the week, maybe even sooner, you'll see that road open.
Mindful of the fact that it's Thursday. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Okay. I'm opening it up to questions for Colonel Palazzini. Any questions? Okay. So thank you. As always, you're welcome to stay on or go as you need. And again, we appreciate you being on these calls and all the work that you and your team have done. Thank you. All right. Sergeant Alpert, how about LAPD? How is it going out there? Do you want to give us an update?
Sure. Yeah, it's going well. Some of you may already know that there were a couple of burglaries from motor vehicles. There was one on July 10th off San Lorenzo, and one on July 15th off Amalfi Drive. They were both tools that were taken from trucks. One was an unlocked van, and another one was a box truck, which goes, to say if you're able to lock your vehicles, please do that. But we were able to get some good information where our detectives were actually able to use investigative tools, and we figured out who we thought the suspects were, as well as the vehicle. I won't explain to you exactly how we did that because those are just some things that we don't usually tell the public. And then we made a stop of that vehicle actually in the east side of the division on August 5th. They ran a stop sign and we were able to do a traffic stop. Plus, we thought that was a car anyways. So after stopping that vehicle, it turned out that those were our three suspects, and they were also related to a harbor robbery crime as well. So obviously not in West LA Division, but actually in Harbor Division. So after doing a field show up with one of our victims who positively identified them, we have them in custody, and we're able to get some tools as well as a wallet back to our victim. So that was a real positive ending of the story. So yeah, so that's my update as far as crimes in the area. We're still proactively having our officers in the area. We still have two shifts of officers that are constantly doing patrol. Um, we're still in contact with CHP, who is also helping us out, as well as all of our private security, which I know you already mentioned. Some of that is going to go away. But with that being said, you guys already know that we still have several entities that will remain, even though they're not our contract security, we will remain in contact with them and make sure we have really good relationships with them. And we will keep our patrol plan until I hear further. It's gonna remain the same. So that's my update. I'm glad to say there hasn't been too many crimes, but those crimes that did take place, we were actually able to get those suspects into custody.
That's excellent news. I have a couple of questions and I see Robert's hand up. Um, so at our last call, first of all, thank you for all of that. And we appreciate that you're still in close contact with private security providers, even if they're not within your contract group. At last week's call, we did talk to one private security provider that Robert had brought. It was ACS, and I think there are others in this group who are fanning out to other security providers who will be on the call over the course of the next few weeks. And we're sort of asking them what it is that they see out there while they do their work, what they can offer the community if there were to be something organized on the table. But we also have conveyed to them that you, LAPD, have said to us that you'd like to be in touch with these private security providers, that in fact you've said they're welcome to come to roll call and somehow stay in communication with you. My impression was that they didn't think that was doable. So I wonder if that's true from your point of view. Is there a way for you to be in touch with them or encourage them to come to roll call? Or is there a radio frequency that you can use with them so that while they are on the ground and they are effectively a force multiplier for LAPD, they can be in touch with you? That was my first question. My second one is a comment. I just want to say, I think you just reaffirmed that you still have the 4 sections and 24/7 patrols, 2 shifts for those 4 sections across the Palisades. I'm going to ask you to please not pull those back. I think that's kind of the minimum we would need on the ground until we figure out what the security situation is going to be like as the U.S. Army Corps leaves and construction begins and repopulation picks up a notch and schools come back. I think there's so much change around the corner that pulling back further than what we have would really maybe leave us flat-footed. So please don't. To the extent that you have influence in the conversations you're having in the background, please keep this formation. And then my third question is, was there a break-in on Enchanted? Is that what you were going to say, Robert? Because it's Josie who's usually on this call. Apparently there was a break-in. Not that it changes the equation, but did that make it over to your radar?
So let me look into that because I don't have all the details in front of me on that, so I don't want to speak. And after this call, I'll get the details and I'll make sure that I get it out to the community.
Okay, I
So
want to make sure it got logged, that it didn't
right,
just kind of
right.
go away.
I don't have the details, but yeah, if it took place, then we're aware of it, unless for some reason they didn't call the police. But I do remember hearing something about that. I just
Yeah.
don't have the exact details in front of me, so I don't want to speak about that. But once I do, I'll get that back to you. As far as your first question about being in contact with security, that's obviously our goal is to always have a good relationship with them. And as far as them coming to every roll call, we'll be happy to forward or re-forward the roll call location to them, which is every day at 1000 hours, or excuse me, 10 a.m. So it changes locations, and we try to forward it to whoever we can in the community. But every month we change that, and then of course they're changing shifts as well. But we will do our best. In fact, I'll talk to Brian once he gets back, and we'll have try to have regular meetings with them. We have generally a pretty good relationship with them, but of course, we can always improve that. So if there's some way that we need to improve contact, we will work towards having better contact with them. please, if you talk to them and you feel that they're not having good contact with LAPD, have them email me directly or have them get in contact with me directly so I can work on fostering that relationship because that's our ultimate goal because they are force multipliers, especially now as we pull security away as far as our contract security. We want to do our best to partner with them in every way that we can, and we generally have over the years. Of course, that relationship changes. It changes with new personnel on our end as well as their end, and we can always work to foster a better relationship. So we will definitely work on that. And as far as your second question about not pulling LAPD resources, yes, I do have some say in that, but obviously I'm a sergeant and I'm not a deputy chief or the chief of police. So I'm going to be honest with you. In the end, it's going to depend on our chief and the conversations with the assistant chief, and then as well as our deputy chief of Westboro. But I am in contact, and I do talk to our deputy chief as well. Whether it's email or phone. So I will pass that message along and let them know that how important it is to the community of Palisades to maintain that presence of LAPD, especially now that we're pulling or eventually going to be pulling that contract security. And that's all I can do is continue to pass your message along. And then, as you know, we have very limited resources, and unfortunately, I'll be honest with you, our numbers are not getting better. I know the mayor, speaks very highly as far as our recruiting, and there are numbers of people that want to be LAPD officers, but that takes a whole process of getting them through all the steps. And unfortunately, at this point, we have people retiring faster than we have filling those seats, so we're not really keeping up with attrition. So I'm not saying that we're going to pull all of LAPD resources. I mean, our plan is to always maintain some kind of stance there, and especially with the rebuilding, and especially we know that there could be more thefts of tools and even something more serious. So we don't want that happening in Palisades. And what I could say is, even if we start pulling resources and we see that crimes start happening again, we're going to do everything we can to redirect resources over to that area, goes to be my next point. It's really important that U.S. community members are kind of passing that along to everyone in the Palisades, making sure that they are making those radio calls. If they do see something, making sure, even if they don't want to call us, then put a report online, do something so that we see those crimes are occurring. Because when we see that crimes are occurring in one area of West LA, as you know, it allows us to push more resources to that area. Whether it's our mission area when they're not handling recall, when they're having radio calls, then we can push our resources over there. But in general, right now, our stance is not changing to my knowledge. If I hear something different, Miriam, I'll let all of you guys know as soon as I hear something.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And we do send that message up to the chief, and we'll continue to. Maybe this group wants to convey that in a formal way, but thank you. We appreciate it. Robert.
Of course.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Sergeant, so much for what you do. Just so the address is 674 Enchanted. The break-in was on July 30th, and according to ACS, they sent video from the cameras they have in the Marquez Knolls to LAPD. So if we could confirm all of that, and it would be great to know if that video has helped in any way, because that informs this ongoing conversation of what works best for the community and how to get the best bang for our buck. So that would be great.
Absolutely. Thank you, Robert.
You're very well.
So Sergeant Alpert, and for everyone who wasn't on the call last week, that's kind of related because last week we did have ACS on this call, and they explained their resources and their assets to us. And one of them is a set of cameras that they have in and around Marquez Knolls. And they say that that's actually, the cameras are apparently only on from midnight to 6 a.m., but they're there and the lights are flashing 24/7. And it's really a deterrent. They see it as a deterrent. I suspect that it is. But it would also be important for us to know if that camera feed was helpful to you, because as Rob says, going forward, we'll be able to make a determination that, hey, maybe investing in those cameras is something good. So it would be good to get that feedback.
I think ACS said they're monitored only at night, but they're on 24/7, but only monitored at night.
So just real fast. So that was a theft by trickery for that location. So it was a little different than the crime you're mentioning. That's why I think that's why I didn't have that. But yeah, there was a crime over there in that area. I don't usually tell the exact address, but I'll just say that there was a crime flyer that was put out to everyone, and it was a theft by trickery. And just because there's certain people involved, I don't want to release the exact victims involved. If you want to put that address out, that's one thing, but we generally don't do that just because sometimes the victims don't want their address posted everywhere, if that makes sense. So generally, when you hear me talk about a crime, what I'll do, Robert or Miriam or whoever's on this call, just for the privacy of certain people, like wherever the area is, I'll generally just say the street or cross streets. And you guys probably notice that just because sometimes if let's say if it was something really embarrassing, and let's say the victims really didn't want anyone involved in a block or really to even know about it, we try to provide them with as much privacy as possible. So just going forward, if you're able to do that, I'm sure the victims may or may not feel more comfortable with that as well. But yes, I do see that there was a crime that happened there, and it is being investigated. In fact, we do have suspect information as well on that.
Sergeant Alpert, you said robbery by trickery?
Yes, so I said theft by trickery.
Okay, got it.
Which is what?
Well, I'll go look that up.
So what that involves, oftentimes, and it kind of depends on the situation because there's a few subsections of it, but it could be anything like, let's say someone's taking a vehicle, but they're able to actually con the person into giving them the keys, and they thought there was someone else, or let's say they were able to convince a person that like this money is going to help them out, so they willingly gave the money to them. So there's a few different ways that you could get that crime, if that makes sense.
Okay, that does make sense. Thank you. And I mostly wanted to make sure that it made its way over to you, as you say, part of the statistics, just to make sure we are monitoring really what's going on, as you guys make some deployment decisions. Okay, sounds great. Thank you. Any other questions for Sergeant Alpert? Okay, so then I'm going to hand the floor to Robert. Robert, I think you can introduce
Yep.
Absolute Security.
Yep. So Absolute Security is here. So David, I see at least one other person from your team, and you can introduce some. David and I had, and I spoke to someone else the day before, a long conversation yesterday, which is very helpful, and he was very generous with his time. And I think it'd be good for David and his team, for each of us to take a second to introduce ourselves, because I was explaining what the PRC is, and I was explaining some of the other community groups he's been in contact with, Team Palisades, and as I told David yesterday, we have people from Team Palisades on the PRC. We also have Pally Strong. Larry, you still here? He was here. On the call.
Yeah, he was on. And we also have PPCCs on the call. We have John Patton on the call, who's reaching out to one of the other agencies. And if it's helpful for everybody, I can share the letter from LAPD. I know some of you already have it. It was edited slightly yesterday and sent back. But just so everybody knows why we're doing this, if it's helpful, I can see if I can put it on the screen really quickly. So basically says, I think you can see it. As discussed, the City of Los Angeles will not be able to sustain the cost of contract security in Pacific Palisades long-term. Consequently, should Pacific Palisades choose to maintain contract security, it would assume all associated costs. The LAPD is not in a position to provide you the cost of said security, but here are the people that we've been contracting with. So we are reaching out to these three, just so everybody knows. We're asking these three companies, and Absolute is here with us today, thank you, to come to the call, tell us what they've been doing and what they've been seeing on the ground, so that we know what we're looking at as we go out to private security agencies that we'd like to contract with as a community, sort of as a strategy, as a community response. So it says the scope of work provided by the contract security was comprehensive and fit the needs of the community and the LAPD. They provided armed high visibility vehicular patrols within the Palisades community. Each of the contracted security companies were included in roll call training with LAPD every morning and CHP to ensure connectivity. So that's what we're going to encourage the others to do as we go forward. So that's just the FYI. And Robert, back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'll turn it over to David. I don't know if we need to do the roll call on our side, 'cause interest of time. And and this is good because we just have one company on the phone, and one of the things David talked about with me yesterday was, each security company has their own secret sauce, if you will. and what makes them unique, and some of that they want to keep at least somewhat proprietary. And so having a closed forum, I think is going to be helpful for this conversation. So, David, I'll turn it over to you to introduce your team and tell us a little about your team and what you do, what you've been doing in the Palisades, and what you think you can do for us in the future.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the invite. And thank you, everyone, for allowing us Absolute to be on the call this morning. My name is David Reynoso. I'm the Chief of Operations for the company. Also from our team, we have Brian Calindris, the Executive of Operations, and we have Jason and Ariel from our contract team. Our scope of work in the Palisades, we have the graveyard shift. We've had that since we began the security there. And I've been up there more than once to see, I'll just call it the disaster. That's how I see it. It's just terrible. And I'm sorry for those of you, well, all of you have been affected, whether your home is still standing or not, all of you have been affected. And I just can't imagine what you're all going through. It's glad to see it's to see how you put together these groups to help each other. As Robert said, I have spoken to at least one other group. It's news to us that this is ending. We knew it would. I just thought it would last a little longer, but I'll follow up with our LAPD contact on that to get the date, and so we're prepared. But as far as services, the graveyard shift, as I mentioned to Robert yesterday, as far as I'm concerned, anything at night that's not security or LAPD at 2 in the morning is suspicious. I mean, there should really be no activity there at 2 in the morning. So we told our guards, anything you see looks suspicious, you need to call LAPD, you do it. You need to document, take pictures, you do it. And I know they have called, and most of the calls have been for, I think, a lot of vehicles there left in just odd places in the middle of the night. Some look really dirty, like they've been there a long time, and we don't do much on those. But if something looks out of place, a vehicle that's clean, warm to the touch, sitting somewhere that doesn't just look right, we told them call, and anything that looks suspicious. I'd rather you call and turn out to be nothing than let it go and turns out to be something where someone suffers a theft or something along those lines. And just a little bit about myself really quick. I've been in this industry 3.5 years. Prior to that, I was a police officer for 32 years. My last 7 years, I was a chief of police for the Almonte Police Department. And just a little thing, I was first hired by LAPD actually in 1989. A little while before the sergeant was around. So where we are now with this ending, I think security is going to evolve there. What it looks like, it might look where as you get Connex boxes, construction coming in, you might get security for one area, one home, two homes, or maybe one block. And then it expands from the block to a community as people start developing again. And I know that development is going to be but I've heard up to 10 years. That's a long time. But we would be more than happy to be partners with this community as long as it takes. As far as services, a lot of companies you're going to hear the similar service. It's what we do now. We have the armed patrol. We can also do unarmed patrol. We're also a monitoring center. So our office in Irwindale never closes. We're 24/7. We never close. We also offer camera solutions and monitoring. I know one of the things that's happening now more, people say, I have my cameras, but can you monitor them for me? Can you check in every hour on the hour and do a tour for me of all my cameras? You see anything suspicious? Send your guards, call the police department, and call us. So that's one of the other services that we see that it's evolving. Just with the technology from cameras, people have their own very good cameras where they say, we don't need your cameras. We just need you to monitor the cameras. But I really see this security as evolving from, like I said, just a single home construction security. That's something that we do pretty much all over Southern California, because one of the things I do see is theft of construction tools, equipment. And unfortunately, what we've seen, some of this theft is by other construction companies. In certain areas where you have multiple, construction sites going on, they do target each other because they know what tools, what items they have that they can also use. That's one of the things that I have heard that's going on there in that area. So I hear a lot of little things from our guards regarding the area, regarding other companies, long-standing companies that have been in the area. And one of the things that was mentioned earlier, our relationship with LAPD. I mean, we'll continue beyond this once this ends. It can look something as simple as a request LAPD to just send us any crime trends in the area, anything we can help out on. We can be the eyes and ears for LAPD, be that responsible reporter, where we want to be a deterrent first, but we also are going to observe and report, and then take action whenever it is that we can also. So if you have any questions for me, please.
So David, thank you for that. So one of the things we discussed yesterday that you've reached out to, Team Palisades has reached out to you, and you're putting together a scope of services or potential services to them. Dara is on the call, who's very involved in the leadership of Team Palisades. And as we talked about yesterday, this group represents all of the Palisades. We have people from all the different homeowners associations, from again the different community groups. Yeah, yeah. So I think we try to have a broad brush, and so we're looking again. Well, as I mentioned yesterday, I'm a co-president of my home association. This group is about the whole Palisades. So you've been up there, for a month or two, 3 months, whatever it is. You're there in the graveyard shift. In terms of, have you been seeing? I know we're getting more and more concerned about crime as things get rebuilt. Are you seeing crime up there? And what can going forward? You talked to me yesterday about putting together a task force surging if you find crime in a specific neighborhood or location or patterns. Can you talk about a little bit about that and what can we do from this call? What is the next step do you see from this call to getting more information for us to talk about and disseminate to the community?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. One of the things I mentioned yesterday, I'll just give you an example. Copper theft. Copper theft is to the roof. And we have sites where the the centers have giant signs that say, "We buy copper." I mean, it's gone to a point where I think these people who would buy the copper are meeting the thieves at 2, 3 in the morning. And construction sites have copper. That plumbing is I don't think anything's changed yet. Uh, so a lot of theft of copper, theft of heavy metals, recyclables, anything that can be sold quickly. So we started just our own, and again, within the limits of security. We have those limited powers of arrest. We're not the police, but we can also be great deterrents. We observe and report, but before we do that, I want to be a deterrent. Be that company where they don't even jump the fence to look. They stop at the fence line and they say, "I'm going somewhere else." So, for example, for copper, we have a team. We also have the capability of hiring and employing off-duty police officers or retired police officers. And this copper task force, we're using some covert, tactics that I used in the past in police work, along with the uniform presence to be that deterrent. If we're not, then we're going to be that company where we're going to do our best to detain and effect a private person's arrest and call the police department as quickly as possible. Because one of the things I know, when you have someone in custody, a private person's arrest, and we're allowed to handcuff someone, the response is a lot quicker because that person's handcuffed. So that's something we do. When we can specialize that in your area in case there is some construction theft. And we'll focus really our security or patrol in that area, focus just on construction theft. If at night you want every single, let's say, a Conex box delivered for during the construction, you want every single box tagged and scanned every single night on the hour, you get that. And not only do you get that, but you get our GPS report throughout the whole night. You can log into our portal in the morning and see where every car was throughout the whole night. And that's something we offer our clients. So you can keep an eye on us. Hey, you're spending too much time here, not enough time there. Get on us. Let us know. You need to patrol this area more. We'll be there. And that report, you log on in the morning. You don't wait for us to send it to you. So we offer all these different types of solutions. And it can be a general patrol throughout an area or just a focus-based patrol in one area, or like I mentioned before, right now there's 5 sectors. So that's more of that macro approach, but we can also do that micro approach where you just want a security at one block or a couple different homes. But what I can do, I can put together for now an information sheet, kind of very general proposal. I am more than happy to meet with your group in person. If you had a group to meet, you name it, I will be there. I can meet in person and let you know the solutions that we do have and our capabilities. And then the experience we have as a company, we've been around, I think about 16 years. We're about 400 employees. So we're not a massive company, but we're not a small company. And we recruit very well and very quickly also.
Okay, David, I have a couple of questions for you, and then I have something to share from a member of this group that's not on the call, but kind of an important voice to hear from, and I have her input through email, which I will share. A couple of questions. You said graveyard shift. What hours is that? And maybe everyone else knows, but I don't. What are the hours
Well,
of a
the hours we're working 10:30 till 7 a.m.
So it's overnight. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then you said you're forming a task force around the copper theft. So, this group has been talking for a few months about how the nature of security is going to change in the Palisades all the time. It's not just going to change now because LAPD is leaving or, because construction is starting. It's going to change because, as you say, over the course of the next 7 or 8 or 10 years, things, we are going to chart a course that is unfamiliar to all of us. So I think things will change all the time because there's construction, there's repopulation, there's schools coming, schools going, new kinds of people who come in. Nothing can really be foretold. But the one thing that we are sure of is that there is going to be construction and those contractors are going to have to hold material on site. And if it gets stolen, the cost of construction is going to rise for people. And we're already talking about trying to shrink that cost rather than watch it go up. So I've actually reached out to 2 or 3 of the bigger contractors that I know already are working in the Palisades. And I've asked them if they have something in the works, a plan in the works, to secure their materials. I haven't heard back from them, but I want to say this idea of securing materials is ultimately going to fall on the various contractors to do. Of course, it's going to be helpful if if LAPD or if the community has a general response, like, eyes and ears driving around the streets. But ultimately, I feel like homeowners are going to be expecting their contractors to find a way to fence their materials. Just wonder if you think that will be true. I'm wondering about this task force that you're forming. Can you or do you foresee forming task forces around other issues as they arise? So whatever, in the next 6 months, maybe something else comes up and we realize that that's like a pinch point. Can you form a task group to address some other issue as it arises?
Yes, thank you for that. As far as construction, it is common for a general contractor to have a relationship with a construction company, reach out to us, and it's something that we do. So construction company will call us, hey, we have this work site, we need you to provide security for us, nightly graveyard, and then 24 hours on weekends. So that is something that occurs more often than not, actually, with contractors, general contractors, and they look for different solutions. They'll look at cameras, physical security, or a combination of things that we see.
Right.
So
And
that does happen.
okay, and I'm just thinking ahead, but I'm saying if there's a lot of construction going on and several different contractors, wouldn't it make sense for them to come together and reach out to an organization like yours and say, look, there are 3 or 4 of us, we're building on this, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 block radius. Can you keep an eye on it? I guess where I'm going with this is, again, I keep saying it's going to be a tapestry. It's going to be a tapestry of organizations that try to help lift this recovery off the ground. It's also going to be a tapestry of solutions. Um, and I feel like if we can be sure that the contractors are going to try to deal with their own security stuff, that's one thing off of our table. And we can continue to deal with quality of life issues or, people moving back or schools starting or whatever the case might be. You were saying that nothing good happens at 2 o'clock in the morning, and if you see a car moving around, you're going to pull them over and take some pictures and see what they are. I happen to be the parent of teens, and I have a feeling they're going to get pulled over by you. So as we repopulate, that will happen. There's going to be the natural kind of course of life that, might take over in a burn zone. So all of these things you're going to have to balance, and I'm just trying to
Yes,
figure
no,
out.
that's a
Yeah.
good question. But security cannot pull anyone over. Only police can.
Mm.
So we can't. We will report suspicious activity, look into it, but security can't and should not be pulling vehicles over. Only the police can.
Got it.
So that's something, just so you know, for your awareness. If you see that, that's wrong. They
Okay.
can't do it.
Okay.
You can ask a parked car, hey, we provide security in this neighborhood. Do you live here? We can do that, but
Right.
you can't pull the
Can't chase
vehicle
them down
over.
and pull them over. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But something you said about just sharing costs, things being cost effective. Yes, that's something that's actually, I think, really smart. If you have construction in one neighborhood, one company or several companies have a block, for them to come together,
Mhm.
yes, I think that would be smart, cost effective. But I think that's where your group comes in, just in to say,
Right.
here's companies that we spoke to in the
Right.
past.
Right. And
These
here's
are people we met, and they have experience in this neighborhood.
right. And so I was going to ask you your experience in the neighborhood. I assume LAPD reached out to you because you've worked in the Palisades before. There had to be something. Do you have a footprint in the Palisades?
We're not directly in the Palisades, but we're in the area, West Los Angeles, Westwood, not far from there, and really close by to there, actually.
Okay, got it.
And we're one of the LAPD has, I think it's 7 or 8 companies,
Mhm.
contract security companies. So
Mhm.
we're vetted through the city of Los Angeles, and they
Got it.
reached out to 3 of us
Got it.
to
And
see if this is something that we can do, because the order, to ask for 16 armed guards
mhm.
with vehicles, that was a tall order, and it was quick. I mean, we had to gear up. I mentioned yesterday, Robert, just so you know what we did, a quick investment. We went out that week, we bought 12 brand new vehicles that week, just for your site,
Wow.
right away. I mean, we were there, the owner and myself, we were there. We closed the dealership down. We were there till the end of the night getting these vehicles because we knew we had to get them staffed and out there for you guys.
Okay.
So we moved quickly on that. But that targeted response I mentioned earlier, like a task force, and really it's a targeted response for solutions, for security solutions. And I mentioned copper, and it might be just construction material. It might be supplies, and like you mentioned, the material, Connex boxes left behind with tools in them, furniture, whatever it may be. Because that's what I see. People drop these storage facilities on the property while construction is going on, and we can have someone on foot in the middle of the night walking the block and just scanning and doing their patrol checks at every single construction site. In a
Got it.
vehicle's fine, but something
Right.
maybe what works better is someone on foot at night.
Right. Which actually is something that this member of the committee, Jessica Rogers, who runs PPRA and is now standing up the Palisades LTRG, suggests. She says what we really need are license plate reader cameras that will allow us to prosecute criminals and act as a real deterrent. Private security is needed, but we need guys on bikes and on foot that will be more efficient in places like the alphabets as we rebuild, which I think is what you were saying. So I think the idea is that we really need to be nimble and we need to think about what sort of model we bring to this recovery. Uh, I feel like we're having the same conversation about fire. We're saying, maybe it doesn't work to have big fire trucks trying to make it up tiny little hillside streets. I think, security is the same. We kind of have to look with a fresh eye. She says we need eyes to be on both lots and homes, and less on the road. I will echo that sentiment. I think several people
Yeah.
on the call probably would. I think we're all tired of getting pulled over for traffic violations. It doesn't really help. I think we all agree that we need more on the streets. So I definitely wanted to share that with you.
Yes,
Two
that's a very
questions.
good
Do you
point because
sorry, do
when
you
we
join
start,
the
yes,
LAPD roll call? Do you now join them? Like since
we,
you're
members of our team did at the beginning. We haven't too much recently. No, I know
okay.
they held it in the morning. Yes.
So,
Okay.
Dave, if I may add on that, we do have nightly roll call with our two post commanders. There was a daily meeting that myself and a few other managers at the beginning would attend, and that was the big meeting with Caltrans, with uh, the Army Corps engineers. So we did attend those. But yes, to answer the question directly, our post commanders are there on a nightly roll call. They check in with the CP, the command post.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. David, you were
And
going to say something about the
yes,
pulse.
you brought up a good point that I brought up in the beginning. I will tell you this: security there was unique because if you think about it, private security patrols private property, a home, a commercial area, maybe let's say municipal buildings. Like we provide security for LAPD personnel, medical services building. Uh, but those are not on the street; those are on private property. So when we were tasked with this to patrol the streets, it is unique because the streets really belong to the enforcement is LAPD, the police department. We can't enforce laws on the street, but we do have capabilities on private property as security officers. We're that deterrent. We observe, report, and do the best before we have to call is be that deterrent so it doesn't even happen. So this is unique where we're patrolling the streets and there's not a lot of residential areas, private property to actually look at. So I totally agree with you. And I think the way it looks, and really it's the way security is built, is that we're going to secure your residence, your construction sites, your tools, your equipment. That is the way security works. So that's why I mentioned on foot, because driving and this is me being a cop again is driving when your windows rolled up, driving 40 miles an hour doesn't work. And when I was a chief, I told my officers, no, you slow down, you roll down the windows so you don't miss anything. And please don't be lazy. If you want to be lazy, at least do it out in the open where you might be a deterrent. You might deter crime on accident. And it's true. That was my old saying. Just don't be lazy in public. Now don't hide. And I expect the same over security officers. And one of the things, as you mentioned, yeah, them being on foot, I think is great. If you have a block, you can walk that block at night,
Right.
patrol checks, do your scans at every single location, wherever that checkpoint might be. It
Right.
might be on a light pole in someone's front yard, but if that's where you want it, that's where you get it. And you get that report every night to see, did the guard do their job? Did they scan all these checkpoints? Was that vehicle traversing the area and going from home to home as we're paying for the services? And you get that in the morning. If you want to log on yourself, like I mentioned earlier, you'll get that. So that specific patrol to a house, to a block, to a community, to an area, yeah, we can provide those services.
Okay, perfect. We have two questions. It's Catherine and Robert, and then I think we might wrap up. Sergeant Alpert, before you go, I have a question for you. Is it possible, or does it make sense if LAPD were to hold its roll call at the stop-in station every day so that there's no guesswork as to where it will be? And then, if we do have a team of security people, they all know where to go at 10 a.m. to connect, compare notes, and sort of get on the same page.
You know what's not a bad idea, and we were talking about doing that, but the only reason why we weren't doing it is because we wanted to be fair to the entire community. And we knew that if we did that, that certain members of the Palisades community were going to be like, well, why are you only holding it over there? We can't get over there and this and that. So that, and especially with all the construction that was going on. So that was why we were switching the locations. It was just more to be more equitable to everyone else in the Palisades. But if if you kind of get the opinion of everyone in the Palisades that they'd rather just have a one location, we can definitely do that. And obviously it would make it easier for us as well, having different sergeants or and different officers from different areas of LAPD. Of course, that would make it easy for us and not having to make new roll call locations every month. So if you can maybe kind of get that out, maybe over
Yeah,
the and then
yeah.
and see what the overall opinion is, that would help us out a lot.
Well, can I suggest a different way? Can I suggest that we do that for like 2 weeks? We will all get it out there. If you get
Okay.
more participation, then maybe it works better. Because right now, I'm not sure how many people know where you're going and show up.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I'm
You know,
definitely open to that, and I will let and I'll pass it on, and we can. I think we already have this month out, so everyone has that out, but we
maybe
can
as of
definitely.
September.
Yeah, maybe. How about September? We just try that and see, and if everyone's good with that, we'll just maintain that footprint.
I think that's great. And by September, we'll have some decals up. As you know, I've been wanting to drive down and get some, so we can put some signage and decals so people know where it is. And I think it might be easier for people to reliably know where to go. But let's give it a try. And
Okay, sounds
make
good.
sure there's water and coffee and stuff. And so we'll make it so it works.
All right, thanks, Miriam.
Okay, thank you. All right, Catherine, then Robert, and then we might wrap up.
Hi, it's more of a comment or food for thought than maybe a question. I'm the head of our HOA, Paseo Miramar, Windy Road. We have 24/7 security on our hill. We have one house under construction, and tools have already been stolen there, even though we have security on the hill. And I just want to point out that it's going to be so difficult to disseminate to find out who is going to steal tools because we have contractors and workers up and down our hill, and our security cannot stop everyone. And we also have a flock camera. So I just wanted to put that out that these thefts don't necessarily occur at 2 a.m. I think they happen during the day, and they do happen from other contractors, workers that see an opportunity to steal something. And I don't think we can do anything with that. I just think that's going to be par for the course in our neighborhoods.
Noted. Thank you.
Yeah, and then just to play off what Catherine just said, I think, David, when we, going forward, and as you come back to us, to try to think about ways that really amplify what you are doing, what other people are doing. And I don't know. I mean, as you talk, having people walking neighborhoods is great, but the Palisades is a huge place, and the cost of having enough people to walk neighborhoods to make people feel that, and as you wanted to discuss yesterday, the goal of our group is to make people feel the community is safer and for it to actually be safer. And I think those are the two pillars that we have to work towards, and solutions that are practical. And so just more food for thought, as Catherine said.
Right. You're very correct about that. There's two pillars. It's feeling safe and being safe. Okay, we shall let you go, I believe, absolute. But one last question. Do you operate cameras?
Yes, we have camera solutions where we can use our cameras, drop the cameras off in certain areas, and we're also a 24/7 monitoring center. So our office never closes. So we do both. And like I mentioned earlier, some clients say we have cameras, just want you to watch them and monitor them. So we also can do that.
Excellent. So you will put together a 1 or 2 pager with just information of the resources you have, what you think the security situation looks like based on your experience the last few months of doing this, and then kind of like a high level recap of what you think you can offer going forward that might be useful. And I say that realizing that going forward might, everything can change within weeks or months. So I understand that. But if we get a little bit of a sense from you as to what it looks like on the ground from your point of view, I think that would be helpful as we continue this process.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. I can get that to you by next week for sure.
That sounds great. You can do it through Robert. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. All of
Thank
you.
you so much.
Our team is on the call and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Arus Gregorian, you are on this call. Before we go, is there anything you want to impart to us from the council office?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Hi, thank you very much. Thanks everybody for the updates and the conversation today. I do have a meeting in 8 minutes, but just wanted to say I know from last meetings we had concerns about BSL street lighting. They will be presenting to the PPCC next meeting, not today. August 14th. They do have a very limited time, 5 to 7 minutes, to present their plans, whatever they have done in Palisades post-fire, and what the future plans are for the lighting of the streets in Palisades. Today, we actually have a special meeting. The councilwoman will be introducing a vision plan and also ACOM to the Palisades community. And we are hoping end of this month we will have a LADWP meeting. Our office has received a couple of PPD requests, one of which is Paseo Miramar. We are communicating with LADOT and they have informed us that the locations are still subject to coastal zone. Jeff from our team and I will be meeting to the coastal with the LADOT's presence to start communicating with them to see how we can actually move forward with the PPDs in this area. You will also see our beautification teams, CRCD and LACC, in different parts of Palisades. This is attention to all the security and police department. We are sending teams out to clean Palisades. They will mostly be today, I believe, in Paseo Miramar doing some restoration work and replacing some sandbags. Moving forward, they will go to Alphabets, Bienvenidas, and other streets to clear the area from debris. They will restore some plants, some public right-of-ways as well. They won't be in a private property, of course, but just pay attention. There will be city crews. I believe they have orange or green vests, but they will be doing some cleanup services. It will be continuous until end of year. This is a project that we all are going to work moving forward to clear a lot of medians, parkways, restore some of the trails. And we are also in communications with the state to see if the trails will reopen or not. Our position, I believe, you all know, we're advocating to not open these trails, especially the Miramar trailhead, Paseo Miramar trailhead, for obvious reasons. And we will be talking to them or meeting with the superintendents to see how we can at least temporarily ask them not to reopen those trails. Not that we don't want hikers to hike and practice healthy habits, but in the disaster area, we would like to give priority to our community members who are coming back, rebuilding, and they will be using the streets to, drive up and down and bring construction materials and other things. And I hope to see all of you or most of you tonight during the PPCC meeting. That's it for me. If you don't have any questions, I would like to leave to prepare for my next meeting.
Yes.
Rich, just one quick question. Monday at our Team Pally meeting for the Marcus Knowles, a number of people were asking about the status of repairs to the road, particularly at Akron, rather.
It is a bigger discussion topic with street services, which our office has been involved in. At this moment, I do not want to give updates. However, the areas that we have received concerns, they are on a list that is shared with street services. We're trying to identify funding to repair those streets, and we might have conversations with different agencies outside of the city to see how we can move forward with this. We might ask BSS to also join one of the PPCC's meeting to present as well, but we are advocating for asphalt repairs at least to the areas that have gotten big damages. Those, for example, Sunset and Baylor, we've all seen it's been reported to 311. It will be helpful if you report it to 311 and send it to us. I am adding all of those with the service request numbers on the sheet that we have created and shared.
Okay, great. Thank you. We will let you go to your call. I think we're good to disband also. As always, I will circulate a meeting recap and we will circle back with all of the private security agencies. So thank you all for being on the call. John, did you happen to hear back from Alliance, by the way? Or, yeah, I think it's Alliance. Okay, well, I'll circle with John. We haven't been able to pin down Alliance, but I did see an entire gaggle of them yesterday, and I walked up to just give them a note as to having their supervisors contact us. So hopefully we'll have them on the call in 2 weeks. All right, thank you.
Miriam.
Oh,
Miriam,
hey.
hi, it's Sarah.
Hey.
Hi. I just wanted to share that Steve has reached out to, it's Allied, correct? That's the
yeah,
one.
Allied, yes.
Okay, so and if anyone wants to join, he does have a meeting with them on Friday at Clayco at our office at 1 p.m. So if you'd like to join, anyone wants to join, please come down
Great
to
if you
Clayco.
if you could let John know. You see,
Yep.
do you know John Patton? You must.
I don't. And Robert, we've let Robert know. So I just wanted to I didn't know who was doing that work. So now I do, and I apologize. And so here we go. So I'm glad I was on the call.
I'll put John
And
in.
John,
He's great.
yeah.
He's Palisades Pride. He's part of PPCC.
Yep.
He's on the rebuild committee. He's great. So I'll make
Perfect.
his introduction.
Right. And anyone else do you think that we need to invite, please?
So I mean, I feel like we've made very clear that we're going to try to bring all of this information together and then emerge with something of a strategy that we can then, use as a community strategy. I don't care. You can write it. I can write it, but something that is unified and cohesive.
Correct.
Enables us to be able to ask the same question from all the different security agencies. So they're not like quoting different things. Everybody's working off the same playbook.
Right, exactly. And I think that what happened was when we got the letter, I wasn't sure who else got that letter. So now that we have this information, because it was just, how we're working in silos, which we shouldn't be doing. So, and I'm glad that I'm on the call and I appreciate it. And that's why we're going to, remedy this situation.
Let's emerge with one thing. Okay, sounds good.
Yep.
I'll put you in touch with
Yep.
John. You're already in touch with Robert. The third person that's part of this is Court. Not too hard to put Court into the loop. And so, we're all just working off the same page. Seems to make the most amount of sense.
Perfect. Yeah.
Make sure I know who's going to be.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to connect. Thanks, Miriam.
Yep, sure. Talk to you all later. Thank you. Bye.
Okay.